Now
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
I do not understand leftist pop culture. I'm just going to say this as we come back. Listen, it's 8:07 on News Talk 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news. Happy Wednesday, everybody. This is O'Connor and Company. I'm Andrew Langer in for Larry O'Connor, who I'm certain would get these pop culture references more than I would. Joining me is Julie Gunlock. Hello, Julie.
Good morning.
Listen, we're going to talk about this in a little bit, this interview that Hunter Biden gave to Moby. We're trying to figure out who this person Bagel is. But listen, we got this. Coming up on the show, we got Emily Miller to talk about this just horrific story about a Salvation Army food truck getting stolen this weekend as it was delivering food to the homeless people. We got Chip Roy joining us today. But first, lots happening in D.C., to say the least. It is a family affair today. Hunter Biden's supposed to testify before Congress this week, and he does not want to testify in private. Of course, that's the issue. And also, Joe Biden is they're supposed to have the vote on the Joe Biden impeachment inquiry. But before we get to that, and this is what I'm talking about here, this is crazy. I was not aware, Julie, was not aware that Moby was still a thing. I remember when Moby was a big thing, in the 2000s?
Yeah.
It
was
something
related
like
to that Jason Bourne movie.
Oh, is that right? I was just thinking,
didn't
he do that song with Gwen Stefani? Anyway.
Who cares?
So yes, outside. Thank you, Michael. And he does this, but he does a podcast now with somebody named Lindsay and someone named Bagel. And Hunter Biden went on his podcast, and they did it from Hunter Biden's art studio because Hunter Biden is a creative genius. I just got to start to go through this. We'll just go through, and I'm not going to interrupt. Let's start here. How Moby and Hunter Biden met, and Moby's confusion about the right wing media. Michael, go ahead and play cut number 6.
Hi, I'm Moby, and welcome to what I hope is a very special episode of Moby Pod. First and foremost, hi, Lindsay.
Hi, Moby.
And hi, Bagel.
Hi, Moby.
So I hope that every episode of Moby Pod is a special episode of Moby Pod. But this episode is unique because this is part 1 of our conversation with Hunter Biden. And to state the glaringly obvious, there's almost no one on the planet who is a more polarizing figure than Hunter. And Hunter's a friend of mine. We met through recovery a while ago. And what's confused me over the last few years is comparing and contrasting how the media portrays Hunter, especially the right-wing media, but the media in general, how they present him compared to the person I know. And I'm not trying to change anyone's mind about Hunter. I'm not trying to lead anyone to a conclusion. I'm just asking people to keep an open mind as Lindsay and Bagel and I went up to Hunter's studio and talked to him about everything from Carl Jung to spirituality to creativity as a refuge.
Gross.
When we went to record this, I had only met Hunter one other time, and it was at his art opening. And he ran up to me and was so excited and said, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm meeting Bagel." And was so sweet.
Because to be fair, I do text him a lot of pictures of Bagel. like Bagel at lunch, Bagel wearing sunglasses, Bagel wearing a party hat.
He was acting the way I would have acted if Cher or Britney Spears would have walked into the room. Bagel was a celebrity to him.
I suspect, by the way, that to answer the question, I think Bagel may be Lindsay doing another voice. Somebody's alter ego is Bagel, yes, because the dog, when they're talking about why would it be a thing if Bagel were wearing sunglasses? He's putting
and Bagel
sunglasses
did
on
have
the dog.
sort of a chirpy voice, so yeah.
Yes, that's my thing. But oh my God, I mean, it is nauseating. In fact, I'm sure people are listening, going,
This is sycophantic, obsequious drooling over a guy who spent $12,000 at Larry Flynt's Hustler Club, $8,000 on a Russian prostitute named Yana, $1,000 on a sex cam site called Steamray, $34,000 at the Chateau Marmont. You know, why would people
say what
be
you
upset
will about
that?
Howard Stern, right? And I'm not a huge Howard Stern fan. I've been for a very long time. But if Howard Stern were presented with an interview like this, the first question out of Howard Stern's mouth was, what do you get for $8,000 for a Russian prostitute? I mean, you could buy a whole village of Russian prostitutes for $8,000, I would think. But here, let's hear. Bagel is very upset by Hunter Biden being dehumanized by the media. Let's hear what Bagel has to say.
And the way that the media treats others and the way that he has been dehumanized has been so hard to watch. And I'm so scared of the way that modern culture can dehumanize people. I think it's so dangerous. It makes me think of something that Brene Brown talks about often, which is what happens when you start dehumanizing people. It creates something called moral exclusion, where causing them harm or wishing them harm feels like it's not that bad to do because they're not a human anyway. And seeing it happen to Hunter, who's so sweet, who's turned his life around in this beautiful way.
Okay, all right. I had a whole thing about the dehumanization of the other, and then she goes, he's turned his life around in the most beautiful way. What? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just,
go ahead. I really don't care about someone named Bagel's opinion, but
sure.
But I wonder how outraged Bagel was when Hillary Clinton called Trump supporters deplorable. Right? I wonder about all the dehumanizing language of Trump supporters now, or the January 6th
100%.
I wonder how. I mean, and I love how concerned they are for this privileged, rich brat.
Right.
Who got away with it for so long, and with the assistance of the Justice Department was trying to get all of this to go away before charges could be put forth. I mean, it's just vile.
Here, in terms of other vile things, let's hear now. Here is Moby talking about his friend Hunter, and Hunter talking about the New York Post doxing him.
And we're here with my friend Hunter in his painting studio with his son Bo, who's currently covering his face with vegan crumb cake. Is it good?
Yeah.
God, there's a
His eyes got so wide.
Okay, so there's so much that I want to talk about.
No big trucks come here.
Oh, yeah. Moby came in a big truck.
I came here in a big truck.
Big trucks don't come up here a lot, huh, Bo?
Yeah, it's a tiny little driveway. Should I even say let me just rephrase that. We are currently in San Francisco at Hunter. We drove all the way up to San Francisco to go to Hunter's
You already gave
studio.
it away.
No, we can edit it.
Don't worry.
We're going to edit it out to make it sound like...
The New York Post has already published aerial photographs
Right.
of where I live, so... You're not
Wait,
gonna,
what?
Yeah, on the front page. Yeah.
That's isn't that
everywhere.
there's a word for that. Isn't that called doxing?
Oh, absolutely. They doxed me. Yep.
The New York Post doxed you.
The New York Post, the Daily Mail, everybody.
That's
I don't
not
want to start
doxing.
off with, because I really want to talk about like art and existentialism and the ways in which you've found refuge through creativity and all.
This is unbearable.
Oh my God! All right, so basically, Heather and Julie, I'm now going to have to listen to this podcast. I'm in.
Why do you
want
want to torture yourself?
15 seconds of it at a time, and I'm just going to go crazy. This is where you need the MST3. You remember Mystery Science Theater 3000?
Yeah.
You need a Mystery Science Theater 3000 version of this, where we sit there and we go through, and every kind of statement, it would take hours to go through. But
Moby
still.
claims to also be this big, environmentalist, and I wonder if he questioned Hunter's carbon footprint on some of the things that he's done over the years, right? No, it's not that. All it was, this was a giveaway to Hunter. This was just an absolute, softball questions, helping him recover his reputation.
Let's set everything else aside for a moment. Moby, environmentalist Moby, talking about Hunter's son with the vegan crumb cake all over his face. And I'm not going to go down the road of the truck. I don't know what kind of trunk it was. But let's remember that his wonderful, generous, open-hearted friend, this stable genius, was lobbying for Central European oil companies,
Right.
And getting paid millions of dollars to do it.
Excellent point. Yep.
No, really
excellent
no,
point.
he wasn't. Anyway, it is just nuts. I'm sorry. I know now you're all fascinated by this. It's going to give Moby's Moby Pod is the podcast. It's on Spotify and elsewhere go and check it out. Listen, we got more to get to, but first it's 8:50.
Making sense of the news.
Live
from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
WMAL, making sense of education, because what's happening in your kid's school matters. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
You know, we teased this in the earlier in the show. This just a horrific and disturbing story of a Salvation Army food truck. You know, they go down and they deliver food to the homeless around the mall, getting stolen over the weekend. Joining us right now, Emily Miller. She's a journalist at Emily News Post on Substack. Emily, just go through what happened over the weekend.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
So on Sunday morning, the Salvation Army Great Patrol truck was stolen, and it was only recovered Tuesday night by the police, and the damages are so serious that has not been in use.
Oh no!
And for people who are not familiar,
sorry, go ahead.
People who are not familiar with the Great Patrol, that's the name of the program. It's the Salvation Army does this 365 days a year. They give food out to people who are living on the streets. Now, I volunteered in this program for over 10 years, so know it fairly well. What they do is churches and schools prepare hot meals, so hot soup, chili, plus sandwiches and snacks. And then the Great Patrol drivers, the professional Salvation Army staff, know where people sleep around D.C., which is around the White House, downtown, around the National Mall, the people who don't live in shelters. And then they go to each spot. And the reason it's called Great Patrol is because often these homeless people sleep on the sort of warm sidewalk grates, you know, where the steam comes up from the metro. And so they know where they live. And you'll go, when you're in the van as a volunteer, which I've done many times, you go around and you stop at about 10 different stops. And the homeless know because they're expecting it. And they come and you serve them this warm meal. This truck they call the canteen is specifically designed and made to do this. Yeah. So it has this windows on the side that you can open so you can serve the food. It has places for the hot food, for the hot soup to sit, places in the back so you can open the truck and serve the meals. And some god-awful thieves stole this truck on Sunday morning. And this truck is so obvious what it is. It's white.
Right.
And it's emblazoned. People haven't seen it around town. It's emblazoned with this huge Salvation Army red logo. And it says Great Patrol in huge red lettering across the side. There's no doubt what it is. And so it was stolen. It was destroyed to the point where the repairs are going to take a long time. They're going to be very expensive. And so they have not been able to serve hot meals for the past several days. And Merry Christmas to everyone in Washington, D.C.
Emily, was the driver hurt when this van was taken?
It wasn't taken. It was not a carjacking. It was it was stolen.
Okay. Good.
Early Sunday morning.
I mean,
and as you all know, if you're watching Crime in Washington, motor vehicle thefts have risen 90% in Washington, D.C. this year. That's carjackings, that's motor vehicle thefts like this one, 90%. And so now it's gotten to the point where they've stolen all the regular people's cars. Now they're going to go after the charity trucks, the trucks that serve the homeless and people who aren't sleeping in shelters every night. And so for the past 3 nights, people who are sleeping on the streets have not gotten a warm meal. The Salvation Army, from what they've said on their website recently, today they even put an update up, they have been keeping up with the patrol by giving out cold food and using other vehicles, but they're trying to raise money to do repairs to the truck so they can put it back in service.
Well, and it's not as though, I mean, if it had happened last week when it was warmer in D.C., it wouldn't have been great, but it would have been a little better. It's been a cold week. The nights have been particularly cold, below freezing. So this is a very, very much of a needed service here. We're talking with Emily Miller from Emily News Post on Substack. Emily, what do we know? Do we know about was this random? Was this targeted? Was it joyriding? Do we have any idea what the motivation was behind this theft?
Well, on my Substack, which is emilypostnews.com, on emilypostnews.com, I talked to the police DC Police MPD spokesperson about the status of the investigation. And I asked, and she said that the truck was located at the 1000 block of 1st Street Northeast. One person is in custody in connection with the investigation, but the report is not completed and no further information is immediately available. So we don't know exactly who stole it, how they got away with it, and how it was recovered, or this person's in custody. I can't think one person stole this because it's a fairly large truck, complicated, and not something one person would do. And
Emily,
you also won't think.
Emily,
think it would be.
Oh, I'm so sorry, but we're running up on the clock, and I just wanted to ask, where can people give? Right. Because you mentioned that they need donations to get a new van.
Yeah, the Salvation Army's, I would just say the Salvation Army's National Capital Area Command. So if you go over to Salvation Army and do the National Capital Area Command website, that's the best way to do it.
We'll tweet that out. Great.
Emily, I appreciate it. Emily Miller, Emily News Post on Substack. Go and check it out. We got so much more to get to right now. It's 8:23 on WMAL.
Now
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
Well, guys, it is 8:37 here on News Talk 105.9 WMAL. We are making sense of the news. This, of course, is O'Connor and Company, though I am not Larry O'Connor. I'm Andrew Langer, in for Larry today and for Larry for the rest of the week, alongside Julie Gunlock. Hello, Julie. Greetings,
Good morning.
salutations.
I'm sorry.
It's all right, and a happy Wednesday to you and one and all. Listen, we've got all kinds of things coming up. We're going to play more of the interview between Hunter Biden and Moby. All your compelling Moby news here on O'Connor and Company. But joining us first, Congressman Chip Roy. He's from the great state of Texas, the Republic of Texas. Congressman, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, y'all. How are you?
We're good. I'm fine. Listen, so let's start here. Ukrainian President Zelensky was up on Capitol Hill yesterday, and I'm wondering if President Biden overplayed his hand by bringing him up, and whether or not this is going to backfire. What do you make of Zelensky's trip up to the Hill yesterday?
Well, I certainly can't speak for the conversations he had with the Senate or the White House. I did have to, take my hat off to Speaker Johnson for sitting down with him. Obviously, he didn't meet with the entire conference. I don't know if any other colleagues were in the room with him, but I know after Mike met with him, he came out and held a firm line that while obviously we stand alongside the people of Ukraine, we want them to hold the line against Putin and defend their sovereignty. We've obviously sent a significant amount of our treasure there to try to help them. At this point in time, we've got to focus on making sure our country is secure, force our administration to prioritize the American people's interests. And I was proud of Speaker Johnson for coming out and saying, look, we got to secure the border of the United States and make sure that we're, paying for the things we're doing. And then we'll see what we can do. If we can do our job first here at home, then we can have a conversation about Ukraine. So I think that's the right posture. And I think coming down and trying to force this by having Zelensky come to the Hill, certainly didn't seem to make any headway on our side anyway.
From the White House and from some Democrats, we've seen this sort of narrative. We have to invest in the Ukraine. They're this bulwark against an increasingly aggressive Russia, and kind of suggesting that if we don't help Ukraine, American troops might have to go in, or more American resources might have to get. It's sort of a threat to the American public, and sort of your sons might have to clean this up. What do you say to constituents that might believe that, might be worried about that if we do not handle this now and give Ukraine the funds they need, it'll only get worse?
Well, I think the first thing that I would say is, we need a clear mission as to what they want to accomplish. And we have not gotten that out of this administration. That's their fundamental obligation to tell not just Congress, but the American people, and to be clear with Zelensky and the people of Ukraine. If Ukraine wants the entire boundaries all the way pushed back across and retake, Crimea and the entire region on the east, then that's a very different situation than trying to hold the line and stop Putin from making any advancements, toward Kyiv or threaten any of our allies in Eastern Europe. So we need a clear mission of what they're trying to accomplish. We've sent $113 billion. What have they done with all of that, right? How much of that has been lethal aid versus how much of that is kind of propping up their own, pensions, their own government, on the honorable side, and how much of it's gone into oligarchs and corruption. And so, we need full accountability. We're getting some of that over time. But the main thing I would say is, look, we need Western Europe and Eastern Europe, particularly Western Europe, to stand up and uphold their end of the bargain. I have met with some of our friends in Eastern Europe who get it, like the Lithuanians and Estonians and Latvians, and they're doing a pretty good job, for their small economies, pumping up dollars to try to support and hold the line on Ukraine. But some of our Western European allies aren't doing crap given how close they are to Russia. So if it's the threat that they say it is, then Europe needs to step up, and then the American people can decide, once we've done our job to secure the border, whether we think more lethal aid is needed. But I'm tired of having to be the ATM for the world because the rest of the world sits by and watches these things happen.
And here's what I come back to, right? If it was one thing, if the U.S. was attacked, then I can see asking the Biden administration, Democrats asking for money with no strings. But the fact is that this is a political calculus in the end, right? There are political things that need to be done. So there has to be some horse trading that's involved there. But actually, before we get to that, I got a two-part question here, Congressman, because there are two other things that are happening up on the Hill right now. We've got the impeachment vote, the impeachment inquiry vote that's happening. Also, this vote on the reauthorization of FISA. The same folks who said that Hunter Biden's laptop was misinformation are now calling for FISA reauthorization. Talk about these two things. I know it's a lot to ask, but I know you can noodle us through.
Well, yeah, they'll take the impeachment inquiry first because it's the easiest. We had a markup. That is, we debated the issue yesterday in the Rules Committee on which I serve. I think the lines are pretty clear. We sent it down to the floor. I hope we'll have the votes on the floor. We've got one or two Republicans who are a little iffy on it, but I think there's general unanimity that there's more than enough evidence, ample evidence of wrongdoing on the part of Hunter Biden and the entire Biden family, and the dollars that have been flowing in, and the allegations, the potential of influence peddling and the corruption there that needs to be looked at. The extent to which we've had testimony demonstrating that President Biden, when he was vice president, was physically present, knew well, even though he then lied and said he didn't know anything about the business dealings. We've got significant amount of evidence of obstruction with the Department of Justice holding back and restricting our ability to get answers out of people that have deep understanding and knowledge about the decisions they were making with respect to the tax laws that Hunter Biden broke, letting the statutes of limitations run. I could go on and on. The point is, I hope we will do that inquiry today. On the issue of NDAA and FISA, that is the National Defense Authorization Bill and the Intelligence Surveillance Act. I am strongly opposed to combining those two into one package to pass, to continue to prop up an intelligence surveillance that has been abused against the American people. We need to reform it. As much as I give Speaker Johnson a shout out for what he did on Ukraine and the border in the conversation with Zelensky, I think it's a mistake. I strongly disagree with putting it on the floor. I suspect it'll pass because the way this town works, right before Christmas, let's pass a great big defense bill that's 3,000 pages with an extension of intelligence surveillance on it because, oh my God, we need it to save the country and keep us secure. And the fact is, we can do our job to make sure that it's reformed. We protect the civil liberties of the American people, and we're not doing that. We're punting. We're kicking the can down the road. That's not how we should do our job. I would force us here. I wouldn't go home for Christmas until we've done our job, pass a reformed surveillance bill, make the Defense Act go to the side, make some more reforms on defense because it's watered down. It doesn't do the things to give our military a stronger sense that it's focused on mission rather than social engineering, and we could improve it if we did our job. So I disagree there, and we'll see what happens. I suspect I'll get rolled, and then we'll have to figure out what we're going to do.
Well, there we go. Congressman Chip Roy, thank you so very much for joining us today.
All right, God bless and Merry Christmas.
God bless. Merry Christmas. We've got more coming up. It's 8:44 on WMAL. Heather is scouring this Moby interview with Hunter Biden, so you don't have to. By the way, we've discovered that Bagel is indeed the name of their little dog. Hunter, it is, listen, this fascinating stuff here. But here is, let's listen to this. Here's Hunter Biden saying that he feels sorry for himself for getting so much media attention.
And so they just began to attack and attack and attack. And, you know, addiction provides for a lot of openings for people.
It's a terrifying thing that you went through, and I'm curious about what the experience was like, but also how you've analyzed it in the aftermath. If we are in the aftermath.
No,
it seems like we're amping up to another election cycle where I'm sure you probably have the fear of what happens this time around.
No, we are definitely not in the aftermath yet. I've stopped hoping for an end to this, because as long as my dad is president of the United States, they're not going to stop. This is people say to me all the time, they say, well, you must be used to this because your dad's been a United States senator since you were 2, and then he was vice president. And I can tell you that I have never experienced something like this. I've never witnessed anything like it. I've never witnessed the level of an invasion of privacy on any individual that I can possibly think of. I've never witnessed a sustained attack on one person like this. And I'm not, oh, woe is me. But the fact of the matter is that just this year through July, I've been on the cover of the New York Post, and none of it's been good about 20 plus times.
Julie, you know what I've never seen before? You know what I've never seen? I've never seen pictures of a sitting president of the United States' son spending $8,000 on a Russian hooker named Yana.
Yeah,
I've never seen that.
But also,
or pictures of themselves
part of the
smoking crack.
reason.
Sorry, go ahead.
Part of the reason for the so-called invasion of privacy is because the Justice Department has been in cahoots with the Biden family to hide this.
Right.
And so there have to be media inquiries, which frankly is only coming from so-called conservative media, because the New York Times and most of the other mainstream media, the Washington Post, are right along with the Justice Department and the Biden family. They're all in it together to hide this stuff. And then, some intrepid reporters on the right expose him. Miranda Devine, for instance, with her book on the laptop, Laptop from Hell. And he's so angry. He has been protected, not just from the Department of Justice, but from the media and from the Democrat Party. And he complains about some journalist digging into the truth that he committed crimes and clearly is a completely corrupt individual, and it involved his father.
Hey, how about this? We have a motto in our family: play stupid games, win stupid prizes, right? And so if you didn't want any of this to happen, pick up your laptop and pay your bill, and guess what? You don't have nobody goes and looks at it and sends it up to Rudy Giuliani or wherever and goes down this road. Listen, I would love. We got so much here and so little time to do it. We may have to come back to this. By the way, he's supposed to testify before Congress today. Hunter Biden. He may not show up because he wants to testify. Yeah, more popcorn. He'll be held in contempt. It's 8:52 here on WMAL. Will Hunter Biden testify today, or will he defy Congress? We got that, and we got to find out what's going on with this new arena, possibly down at Potomac Yards. I'll be in with Mercedes Schlapp tomorrow. Chris Plant, what you got going on today on your show?
I love the arena story. The Democrats. This is how you wreck a city. You drive out the sports teams, you drive out the arena, you drive out the economic base, and it's because of crime and mayhem, because they defund the police and they don't. And then of course we have Joe Biden in the White House. He's kind of amusing.
Sure.
And I love Volodymyr Zelensky thanking the military-industrial complex because hundreds of thousands of Russians have been killed. Yay, everybody applaud. We need more money to kill more Russians, hundreds of thousands. It's madness. The world has gone mad. I don't know if you picked up on that. I think you did.
Thank you. Listen, thank you, Julie. See you all tomorrow.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington.